Hey everyone, have you ever felt like you really know a celebrity even though they have no idea who you are? That feeling of being emotionally connected to someone you've never met is what we call a parasocial relationship, and it's becoming a huge part of how brands connect with the audiences. Today, I'm diving into a paper that explores just how these one sided emotional bonds between fans and celebrities can impact brand credibility and loyalty. The paper is called Parasocial Relationships and Social Media Interactions Building Brand Credibility and Loyalty by Lacap et al. As someone who is fascinated by marketing and branding, especially in the digital age, I found this paper to be a really eye-opening read, especially as it shows how much parasocial relationships shape the way we view and trust the brands endorsed by our favorite influencers and celebrities. So let's break it down. Let's first clarify what parasocial relationships actually are. Parasocial relationships are one sided emotional bonds that people form with public figures like celebrities, influencers, or even fictional characters. You might feel like you know them, but they don't actually know you. These connections are especially common in today's digital world, where platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok give us constant access to the personal lives, seemingly personal lives of public figures. But what makes them feel so real? Parasocial relationships are often built through self disclosure, when someone shares personal stories, feelings, or behind the scenes content. This creates a sense of intimacy, making followers feel emotionally close even without real interaction. Real life examples, for example, are you feeling connected to a YouTuber who vlogs daily and opens up about their life. You watch your favorite idol's Instagram stories and start to feel like you know them personally. These moments start as parasocial interactions, short lived feelings of connection. But over time, repeated exposure and emotional engagement can grow into parasocial relationships with deep emotional investment. But why is this important? These relationships influence how much we trust someone and, by extension, what they recommend. They can shape consumer loyalty and buying behavior, especially when celebrities endorse brands. Social media amplifies these effects by making public figures more visible, accessible, and seemingly relatable. So, in short, parasocial interactions lead to parasocial relationships, leading to emotional trust and influence. These one sided bonds can feel surprisingly real, and their impact on trust, loyalty, and even our purchasing decisions is stronger than we might think. So, why should we care about parasocial relationships in the context of advertising psychology? Because these emotional connections, though one sided, are powerful tools that actively shape how we perceive brands, make decisions, and stay loyal as consumers. When fans trust a celebrity or influencer, they often transfer that trust to the products or brands that person endorses. This is called the halo effect. Positive feelings toward a person spill over into everything they're associated with. But why and how does this even work? Parasocial relationships do not actually feel like advertising. They feel like a personal recommendation from someone you truly admire. That emotional connection becomes a persuasive marketing tool, often stronger than logic or product features. So, why is social media such an ideal environment for parasocial relationships to grow? Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and X allow celebrities and influencers to interact with the audience regularly and casually. These interactions often feel personal and spontaneous, even though they're carefully curated and entirely one sided. Fans are exposed to behind the scenes content and seemingly everyday moments. For example, when a celebrity posts a candid photo or shares a seemingly personal story, when a YouTuber talks openly about their struggles or daily routine, or when an idol goes live and chats casually with fans. All of this gives the impression of real connection and access to the person's true self. Fans can like, comment, and even receive replies from their favorite public figures. This constant feedback loop creates the illusion of a two-way relationship, even though the fan is the only one emotionally invested. Even though much of this content is planned and filtered, it can still feel authentic, raw, and emotionally engaging. That sense of authenticity makes it easier for viewers to feel a personal bond and less likely to question what they're consuming. Now let's dive into the study by Lacappe et al. The researchers set out to explore how parasocial relationships with celebrities, specifically BTS in this case, could influence how fans perceive a brand's credibility and how loyal they feel towards it. They analyzed a campaign featuring BTS and the Philippine telecom company Smart Communications. BTS, with its massive global fan base, was chosen to help build a strong emotional link between the fans and the brand. The idea was this: when BTS shares content that feels personal, like behind-the-scenes moments or heartfelt messages, fans may develop parasocial relationships with the group. The study wanted to see whether these emotional bonds could make BTS appear more trustworthy and credible, and whether this perceived credibility would then extend to the brand they endorse. The authors conducted an online survey with 542 participants from the Philippines, all of whom had recently purchased products or services from Smart Communications. First, the respondents were screened to make sure they were Smart subscribers and had made a purchase within the last 3 months. Then, to ensure familiarity, they were shown a sample advertisement featuring BTS, the brand's official ambassadors.
Passion and purpose have no limit with Smart Prepaid. Simplest for Ago!
Only those who recognized the ad and met all of the criteria continued with the full survey. The questionnaire was self-administered and divided into 3 parts: a letter of consent and screening questions to confirm eligibility, a set of statements measuring 6 key constructs: social media interactions, self-disclosure, parasocial relationships, source trustworthiness, brand credibility, and brand loyalty. And finally, demographic details like sex, age, location, and employment type. At its core, the study sought to answer 2 big questions. Do parasocial bonds make fans trust a celebrity more? And if so, does that trust carry over to the brand, boosting its credibility and customer loyalty? To answer those questions, the authors measured things like social media interaction, how much fans engaged with BTS content, perceived self-disclosure, how personal and open fans felt BTS was being, parasocial relationship, how emotionally connected fans felt to BTS, endorser credibility, how trustworthy and credible BTS seemed as an endorser, brand credibility, how credible fans thought Smart Communication was, and brand loyalty, how likely fans were to stay loyal to Smart Communications. So what did a study by Lacappe et al. Actually find? The results were quite clear. First, the more fans interacted with BTS's social media content, the more they felt that BTS was generally opening up to them. In research terms, this means fans perceived a higher level of self-disclosure. This sense of self-disclosure, BTS sharing behind-the-scenes stories, personal messages, or emotional content, increased the formation of parasocial relationships with the group. These stronger parasocial bonds made fans view BTS as more trustworthy and credible, not just as performers, but as people. And that perceived trustworthiness didn't stop with BTS. It transferred directly to the brand they were endorsing, Smart Communications. In other words, BTS's credibility boosted Smart's credibility. Finally, that increased brand credibility led to higher brand loyalty. Fans weren't just buying from Smart. They were more likely to stick with the brand long-term because of their emotional connection to BTS. In simple terms, the emotional bond fans had with BTS rubbed off on Smart Communications. This is what the authors refer to as emotional contagion, where the feelings fans have towards a celebrity extend to the brand they represent. BTS fans emotionally project their admiration onto Smart Communications. Emotional marketing works, even when fans have no strong opinion about the product itself. The study demonstrates how powerful emotional transference can be in shaping brand perception and loyalty. So when we talk about parasocial relationships, we're not just talking about fandom. We're talking about a real marketing tool that can shape consumer behavior in profound ways. What does this mean for brands in real life, and what can marketers learn from this? We learned that brands should choose authentic endorsers who fit the brand and product and somebody fans already trust emotionally and not just famous faces. Brands should encourage self-disclosure. That means creating content that makes fans feel close to the endorser, behind-the-scenes content, casual Q&As, or even live streams. And also, brands should focus on emotional storytelling, showing celebrities connect to the product, actually feeling something about a product and not just using it. Fans want to connect emotionally, not just transactionally. Perfect celebrity brand matchings would be, for example, Taylor Swift's ad campaigns for Capital One. They work because they match her personal and relatable vibe. Also, Cristiano Ronaldo's wellness brand fits his clean living, performance-driven image. And in Korea, IU and New Balance work well because IU's thoughtful, understated personality aligns with the brand's minimalistic style. But it's not just about big stars. Micro-influencers can also build strong parasocial bonds with the followers through authentic daily interactions. While the findings of the study are compelling, the authors also highlight some important limitations. First, the study was conducted in the Philippines, where BTS has an especially large and passionate fan base. That means the emotional impact and loyalty observed here might not be as strong in other countries where the fandom is smaller or less engaged. Second, the sample skewed younger and more digitally savvy. Older consumers or those less active on social media may not experience parasocial relationships in the same way. Their trust in brands might be shaped more by traditional advertising than emotional bonds with celebrities. Third, the study only focused on the positive aspects of parasocial relationships. But what happens if things go wrong? What if BTS is suddenly involved in a scandal or even gets cancelled? What if smart communications replaces BTS with a non-K-pop celebrity? Are these effects just short-term hype, or do they lead to a long-lasting brand loyalty? These are critical questions, especially in today's fast-moving world of cancel culture and influence fatigue. Yes, parasocial relationships can build powerful emotional connections, but brands need to be cautious because parasocial trust is context-sensitive and potentially fragile. So, are consumers being emotionally exploited, or is this just smart, emotionally aware marketing? The line is actually quite blurry. Parasocial bonds feel incredibly real, especially for younger audiences. So, if a 16-year-old starts trusting a telecom company just because BTS endorsed it once, is that ethical? The authors of the study don't take a strong stance, but they call for greater responsibility among marketers to avoid exploitative tactics. Still, the core takeaway here is striking. Citing Lacap et al., in the digital age, brand trust is no longer just built on product quality. It is built on emotional proximity. But what happens when that emotional proximity goes too far? In the K-pop world, we've seen parasocial bonds spiral into obsessive behavior. Think Sasang fans who stalk idols, invade their privacy, or even break into their homes. These fans believe they know their idol personally, even though the relationship is entirely one-sided. So here's the ethical dilemma. If brands are tapping into these intense emotional bonds to sell products, are they simply engaging fans, or are they feeding into unhealthy psychological attachments? It's a gray area, and as social media continues to blur the line between real and curated intimacy, these ethical questions will only become more urgent. Let's wrap this up with a few key points and questions to reflect on. Parasocial relationships do influence consumer behavior. Brands can benefit from emotional marketing, but it's a double-edged sword. So here's what we as consumers need to ask ourselves. Do I trust the product or just the person behind it? Am I being emotionally influenced without realizing it? Think about your favorite celebrity. When you see their face on a product, do you really trust the brand, or is it just their face? The study by Lacap et al. Shows how parasocial bonds with celebrities like BTS can boost trust and loyalty towards brands. But in extreme cases, these bonds can turn obsessive, like Sasang fans who invade idols' privacy. So where's the line between emotionally invested fandom and unhealthy obsession. How should brands account for the spectrum of fan behavior when using celebrities to build emotional connections with consumers?